Hello, party people. Hope you're doing well. So, we're doing this again. Honestly, not as bad as the first one. Which doesn't mean it's not bad. Let me fortify myself with some caffeine, and we'll get into this. So, we start off, oddly enough, with a spider. Go figure. And I'll zoom in on this little guy, and, yeah, things don't go well for him. Whacked with a newspaper. And, of course, one would assume, okay, Ben smacked a spider because he's feeling a certain level of resentment for not having his powers anymore, or not being able to be Spider-Noir anymore, or the Spider, I should say. No, turns out it's Cat Grant. Or, sorry, Cat Hardy. And, yeah, that's an interesting occurrence. And then we come to this look on Ben's face. Why did you do that? That spider was my friend. I have no honest... Oh, son of a bitch. Let's do this right. Come back, and we'll actually use the proper friggin' slides here. So, as I said, spider zoomed in, smacked. Turns out to be Cat Hardy. I keep wanting to say Cat Grant. I think that's a DC character from the Daily Planet. And, yeah, there's the look on Nick's face. You killed one of my friends. Why would you do that? Actually, I'm not 100% sure exactly what he was trying to portray here, other than being extremely tired of everything going on around him. I do have to point out, though, that Cat's dialogue here is either hilariously out of sync, or it was dubbed over in post, because, and actually the other thing I wanted to say, because we're on this one, is I asked if this was foreshadowing, because knowing some of the lore, it could indicate that Cat, as a Hardy, is potentially the actual villain of the piece. Or one of the villains. It's hard to say. If she were a danger to Ben, one would expect, even at this early stage, that she would be setting off his spider sense. So, yeah, let's assume, potentially wrongly, that the show is going to be consistent in the spider sense use. I haven't seen it be inconsistent as yet, so we'll see. And there is a really good scene with the spider sense later on, which I will talk about. But yeah, the dialogue for her was either horribly post-dubbed, potentially because Lee Jun Lee doesn't speak English very well, or, which, I mean, I've heard her sing, she can sing, so one would assume that she does in fact speak English. But her lips don't move at all in sync with what's actually said. Now, I'm not enough of a lip reader to turn the sound down and actually watch it to figure out what she had said, but I can read them enough to tell that what was being... It really looked to me like what she was saying and what we were hearing were not matched up. And I don't mean just out of sync, I mean that the words weren't the same. Yeah, and to the point that I actually went and asked Brave, was Spider-Noir delayed in post-production? Partly because I wanted to know if this might have been part of the reason. It did respond that it did experience significant delays and complications, primarily driven by a major creative decision to alter the series' visual format. Although principal photography wrapped in March last year, the series didn't premiere until May this year. The gap being attributed to extensive additional work. There's also suggestions that the fire in California may have caused a problem as well, which I could see that. The color version was an afterthought requested by Amazon. This necessitated a complex reverse engineering of the lighting and visual effects to ensure the color pass looked viable. Yeah, they actually went out of their way to get, analog equipment, old school analog equipment for filming in black and white. So for Amazon to kick up a stink and say, oh, we want color, Yeah. Crew members have described the color process as a massive course correction that significantly extended the timeline and contributed to a reported production cost $400 million. It's $50 million an episode. Good fuck. Production timeline and the wildfire interruption. I did ask the follow-up question, were there significant changes to dialogue in post-production? Yes, there were significant changes to the dialogue during post-production, primarily driven by the extensive reshoots and the need to accommodate the dual format release. Now, I don't understand why you would have to do extensive reshoots for a color release when you could simply do that digitally. The most notable alteration involved Nicolas Cage's performance, where a substantial amount of his dialogue was re-recorded using ADR. I suppose it is potentially possible that Lee Jun-Lee's dialogue was also used in ADR in this one scene that I'm pointing out. But I suspect that there was something changed in that line because something was given away way sooner than it should have been. And there's a few other spots where the ADR is done needlessly. One fight scene in particular, which I'll mention, of course. Let's see. Critics and reviews have specifically pointed out that Cage himself contributed, quote, genuinely terrible ADR quip work during these sessions. Yeah, there's, and it's not just badly executed from Cage's side, it's badly executed on a technical level from the sound design side as well. The decision to create a color version of the series after the footage was completed necessitated not just visual adjustments, but also audio consistency. I have a question about that. Why do you need to change anything with the audio when you're doing a reshoot for visual reasons? I think this is potentially the studio obfuscating some of the story changes they made. I did question at one point that it looked like it seemed almost like the script was, scrapbooked. The same way that a film or a show will shoot a bunch of different scenes and then pick and choose between what they want to build a story. It almost feels like that sort of thing might have happened here. And, yeah. This is the biggest problem with the scene. This is my biggest problem with the entire series to this point, is this chick. I'm sure she's probably a lovely person in person. She's probably really sweet, potentially very professional. She doesn't seem like an absolute bitch in terms of how she seems. But I suspect she might very well not know how to play this character. But this is the biggest problem with the scene. This character does not belong. She is tone and setting dissonant. She uses modern dialogue and jokes from the fucking 70s, which is about halfway between when this is set in the 30s and now. It's jarring. So many things about this show are jarring. Good God, the fucking theme. Yeah. The moment this character started talking, I loved him. This is... what's the character called? Winston? Winston, yeah, and he's played by Lucas Haas. Lucas Haas has been acting since '83. The first big thing he was in that I've seen was Witness with Harrison Ford. He has definitely got the acting chops. This scene, what did I say here? It's very well acted, very well written, at least in this scene. Yeah, I did cite that Lucas Haas had been acting since '83, and had been in Witness. He's my age. He's 50. So he's been acting since I was 7 years old. Give or take. That's fucking impressive. That's got to reach the level of that 10,000 hours to be an expert and then some, if not blowing it out of the water by potentially a factor of 10. but he is an absolutely great actor. This scene is him and Brendan Gleeson, and they're not exactly butting heads as their characters, but it's so nice to watch this scene. I actually watched this scene 3 or 4 times just to enjoy the amazing acting in it. Another reason I mentioned the writing and talk about how it feels like almost the writing was scrapbooked is it feels like different scenes were written by different people and vastly different levels of talent. Yeah, the jarring theme. I like the theme song. It's a good song. It's just a terrible pick for this particular environment. And just to, kiss Lucas Haas's ass a little bit more, we'll take a quick look at his filmography here. All the way back to 1983, he was in Testament. Never seen it. He was in Love Thy Neighbor, Jesse, Trapper John, Witness, Brothers-in-Law. A few things I've seen might be like Twilight Zone. Solar Babies I've actually seen. It's been a very long time. It's probably been the 40 years since it was put out. Let's see. Most of this stuff I haven't seen. I seem to think I've seen Convicts, but I'm not sure. Young Indiana Jones, I think I watched a couple of episodes of that when it first came out. He played Norman Rockwell, apparently. Let's see, where else are we? Mars Attacks. I've actually never seen Mars Attacks. I know, terrible for a guy who does genre reviews, but it's never really appealed to me. Zoolander, I have in fact seen it, and he does play himself, or he's credited as himself there. Let's see, Twilight Zone again, new Twilight Zone, I would assume. Justice League, he probably only had just a few lines. He's been in music videos. Criminal Minds. The Darwin Awards, I've never seen that, and I'm really kind of curious. Alpha Dog, I have seen Alpha Dog. Wouldn't say I loved it. He was in the Welcome to the Black Parade video. Yeah, I know. I don't seem the type to listen to My Chemical Romance, do I? Occasionally I do. Entourage, he was in something called Bastard. He was in Inception. Red Riding Hood, I'm not sure if this is the one I've seen. Lincoln, I don't think I've seen that either. Pawn Shop Chronicles, Transcendence, I've seen parts of. The Revenant, I still haven't seen The Revenant, and I really think I should. There's another one up here that I have seen. 2022, War of the Worlds, definitely haven't seen that. And Spider-Noir, High Rollers, don't think I've seen that either. But, I mean, seriously, if you get a chance, definitely watch a movie with him in, because he's so good just in this one scene, I can't stop talking about it. So, yeah. And this is number 8. Did I? Oh, I didn't actually make a mark there. But yeah, the scene here with him and Gleeson, it's so well acted from both actors. These guys are both absolutely top of their game. This might be the single best scene in the entire series, and it's a minute, maybe a minute and a half. It's just so good. Yeah. Oh, I seem to have fucked that up. Okay, so, yeah, I did, actually. I accidentally didn't save the right image. There's a point where, this is Flint Marco's apartment, where Ben enters and puts his hat down. And my response to that was, oh yeah, no, let me just break into your house, or into your home, and put my hat down. And I did point out, is this Chekhov? And did a bit of research. It turns out the NYPD, now he starts touching all sorts of things, barehanded. And I did have to go and do a bit of research to find out, okay, fingerprinting was probably fairly new at the time, but it wasn't that new because I knew Scotland Yard over in London was using it by that point, or over in Britain. So I said, is this going to be a Chekhov's hat situation? It was. And it turns out that the NYPD had been relying on fingerprints for unknown perpetrator identification since 1903. So about 30 years at this point. Yeah, and I did say for this scene, Ben is hiding in a closet, has to shoot a web across the room. I said, what the fuck? Why would you retrieve it? It had not been noticed. It had been literally ignored. And it was raining outside. There's a point where it shows the water running off. Oh, it's not there. Shows the water running off the hat, which was kind of jarring for a second. And I had to go back and see, okay, did they actually show that it was raining? They actually did show that it was pouring outside, regardless of the fact that you can't tell from any of the interior shots. It's not great continuity. But, yeah, and I did say it was terrible Chekhovery. I had to invent a term. This is terrible Chekhovery. Or Chekhov chicanery, I suppose. For a guy who's not that guy anymore, Ben sure uses his spider tricks a lot. Yeah. The next slide, and I do apologize. Yes, because cankles are so attractive. And, of course, as she's walking, this is Ben's secretary, as she's walking, the other cops are just staring at her as she walks by. I'll tell you why in a minute. But first, I'm going to get on my soapbox. Let's talk about why you don't force political messaging into anything. If you have a political message that you want to get across, you can do it a lot more subtly than this. As if these men, and I'll bring them back up for just a second, as if these men are somehow horrendous sexists. That's the implication of this shot. Of course, they do ameliorate that in the next shot, and I will show you. But pushing this body positivity bullshit is needless. And not only that, but putting not beautiful women into a visual medium simply because you want to push an agenda of acceptance is going to accomplish the exact opposite. It's going to make people look at it and go, the only reason she has that job is because she's a different race and she's fat. And they will ignore the talent of the individual. Nell Carter didn't need that kind of help. Nell Carter was probably one of the most talented women ever to get on stage, on screen. She didn't need the help. Why does this one... Why are you pushing this shit so hard? Is it intentional attempts to fail? And yeah, these guys are clearly lusty over the sandwich in the bag. And yeah, I did say that... this is 13? No, this is 14. 13. Yeah, this next sequence showing the cops fawning over, a bag lunch. It turns out to be a deli sandwich. So, it's a half-decent recovery. It's not a great joke. But it's okay. Yeah, I don't think that many cops would be chubby chasers in any event. Did I do it again? I did. Okay. I'm sorry. I was in a bit of a hurry trying to get this put together, so... yeah, it turns out that this sandwich is a bribe for the desk sergeant to get some information. So, let me see here. Maybe it's an oversight. It wasn't. Potentially intentional. Wasn't. That she completely glosses past Marco's military service. In the scene in the apartment, Ben discovers a photograph showing Marco and some other characters who, some we've already seen, some we will see, during the First World War, during the Great War. And they're serving in the same place he was in. And at least one of them has superpowers. And Ben has superpowers. So it's kind of, it's starting to kind of draw, okay, is there a connection to France? Maybe, who knows? But I did say that the fact that she doesn't even mention his war service, but uses the phrase, he came back, makes you think, okay, so Ben has already told her that he knows about Marco's military service. Otherwise, why would she simply gloss past it? Simply because the audience already knows about it. That's why. It's because... Now, it's good that you did show, don't tell. However, show and tell isn't bad either. Especially when it makes it look like a character is somehow weirdly psychic or just plain ignorant. Let me see. Yeah, you would think that, assuming Ben hadn't told her he knew, and we saw the pic earlier in Marco's apartment, that she wouldn't omit it simply because the audience already knew. Again, terrible writing choice. She even says he came back as if we knew, and Ben knew, and that Ben had told her that he knew. But he hadn't, because the next image is him handing her the picture and pointing out, yeah, I already knew. Fucking what? Yeah. And they show us that Ben had not told her he knew about Marco's war service when he hands her the picture. This is fuck my life bad. Yeah. Then on 18, I did point out that not beautiful women is a trend that needs to die. Which is why I went back and did the whole soapbox thing. Yeah, this body positivity, all people are beautiful thing, that needs to end. I'm not pretty. I may say I'm pretty, but I'm not. I am perfectly aware I am the world's sexiest thumb. I wouldn't describe myself as handsome in any way, shape, or form. I'd give myself maybe a 5 on a good day. On my best day, I'm maybe a 5.5, but that requires an extremely close shave and a suit, tuxedo actually. Yeah, and the dialogue bites ass. Yeah, rapid patter is no disguise for shitty fucking writing. Yeah, they at each other. It's slick, but it's not good. They acted it really well. It was not written well. 19. The head... Yeah, I did say that I did like this. The headache effect, where Ben grabs the back of his neck when his spider sense goes off. It's still unique enough to keep me intrigued as to the origins of his powers. And I do mention several times that I am actually interested in knowing the origins of his powers. Or at least how they're going to portray the origins of his powers in this. So, he makes... Sorry, make sure I've got it right. Kind of not really this gesture. So he's attempting the spider thing, obviously. But of course, no webs come out. And I assume that's partly because he's trying to maintain his secret identity, not because he's not wearing gadgets. Because, if you recall, in the apartment, it's a bit of a spoiler, but he's not wearing gloves. That's why I brought up the fingerprint thing. So, if he's not wearing gloves, and we see his palms, and there's no trigger pad like there would be in some of the spider costumes, I'm left to assume, okay, does he have Tobey Maguire's spider power set? It's really questionable. And then he goes on to this weird rant about Tai Chi and things like this, which of course necessitated me doing more research to see if this was also anachronistic. There's a bare chance that it isn't. Excuse me. The first Tai Chi training studio in New York City opened in 1939. The first formal one. Now, it's possible there were teachers who would, do it in informal settings. But the first academy, for lack of a better word, for school for Tai Chi, didn't open for several years after this is set. In New York, in the segregation era. And it's not likely to be popular enough for a gumshoe to know about, maybe not even know of it. Yeah, and again, they bust the noir setting. And I did say, fuck my life bad again. Let's see. There are bright spots. We've already talked about the one earlier scene. There are bright spots in this, and I have to read this to be careful that I don't spoil anything. Excuse me. I won't spoil this moment, but it's funny. If a little... Yeah, the writing is good. What occurs is kind of funny. It's a bit uninspired. It's not exactly the most original thing you've ever seen. But it does honor the comic... The roots of this character in the comic cool kind of era. What did I say here? Yeah, the dialogue. It's almost like... Yeah, and this is where I first put down the term, or the idea that the writing itself was scrapbooked. Like it was all just kind of pick and choose based on what they wanted to accomplish in the scene. And then I said, what the fuck? Now he can stick to things? Why couldn't he do that in the first episode? Yeah. And no visible web shooter. Yeah, I did point that out as well. There's no visible web shooter on his wrist. So I'm guessing that he has Tobey Maguire's kind of genetic alteration spinneret in the forearm deal. And I managed to spill coffee on myself. That's a good thing this is a black shirt. Let me just clean that off the cup. 1 second. I'm not even going to cut. Fuck that. You guys can see all the inside baseball today. Let's see if I can manage to do this without slobbering all over myself again. Okay, it doesn't appear there's a hole in the rim of my cup. Yeah. And Cage's face says, yeah. Yeah, let me just zoom in on that a little bit. Yeah, Cage's face says exactly how I feel reviewing this show sometimes. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Another scene between these two, so, you know, I'm happy to see these two together on screen again. I've been thinking about the Canadians, he says. And my first response was, well, I wouldn't trust those puck-smacking syrup suckers if I were you, Brendan. Now, if only Wolverine had cameoed with all this talk about Canadians. That would have been a very interesting thing for Marvel to do, and Amazon. I am 100% convinced it does not happen, because that would have made massive fan news. Let's see. I did say that this is very good set work. This is Addison's house, the guy who bursts into flame. And you see several pieces of evidence that show that he was already on fire quite a lot. There's a burned chair. There's this handprint burned into a post in a 3-dimensional fashion, which is really cool. I'm relatively sure I could replicate that with a post and a bit of time and sandpaper. Yeah, I did say it was very good work on set dressing or props. I'm not exactly sure what you would call that. Let's see. And this fella is also in the picture from France, from the Great War. And he makes some very loud footfalls. So I'm wondering if he doesn't have some sort of power. He is a friend of Marco and Addison, so... let's see. Yeah, stop getting me all excited for nothing. Yeah. That's his secretary. That's not Ben. Yeah. And then she says, then she says, I am not coming back. And all I wrote on my page was large block letters, promise? Yeah. I think she will, though. Reading through the trivia when I was getting ready to set this up, I spotted the name Harold Lloyd, and it turns out that is who Nicolas Cage has disguised himself to get into his old apartment where new people live, so that he can go and reclaim his gear. Yeah. I don't know jack shit about Harold Lloyd. I'm going to assume slapstick, but I'm not 100% sure. Vaudeville, certainly, I know that. Let's see. This is 29, yes. This feels both rushed and like it took forever. I'm only, at this point, I think I'm only about an episode and 3/4-ish into the show, and he's got his gear back. He's using his powers again. Will be shortly. But while there should have or could have been a bit of a more emotional John Wickish impact, simply using the John Wick visuals with none of the emotional baggage or none of the emotional attachment, it kind of fell a little flat, unfortunately. That said, I did like the costume, and I do talk about that later as well. These two guys, it's so frustrating to me that the Oscar-winning star of this show is not acting at that level, and almost everyone around him is. The throwaway scenes that are little bits of exposition and character building for, this is the large black man from the earlier shot in Addison's place. This is Marco. The way they're building character with these guys, it's so good. It's honestly like somebody in the writing room didn't like the person who got relegated to writing these scenes, and they just showed their talent in the most amazing way. This is, and these guys are fairly good actors as well. I didn't bother to note who these guys were because it wasn't quite at the level of Lucas Haas. It didn't quite grab me the way he did. But these guys are good too. And, I mean, I honestly hope the guys in the background of this show, guys like Lucas Haas, these guys, I hope they get something that they can really sink their acting teeth into. Because they're so good. And I hope to see more of it in the show, honestly. But this is 31. No, that's 30. What did I say about this? The dynamic between these two is also good. And the hint-dropping exposition about the origin of their powers is very well done. There's a line here. The black guy says something about Doc told us this might happen, or Doc told us it would only last so long. So now I'm left wondering, okay, are these guys early attempts at Captain America? Are these guys, you know, some sort of... Was Doc actually not a doctor, and it turns out this is some sort of magical thing? Don't know. And I'm extremely intrigued by that. It's the mysteries, which I hope they pay off, and I'm certain they will, because it does seem to be tied into the overall plot. Unlike something, say, J.J. Abrams would do, where you create a mystery box and keep, you know, referring to the mystery box and filling the mystery box with other mysteries that you never pay off. Or you pay off in the lamest ways. It's these scenes that make this show worth watching. Oddly enough, I'm not watching for the star of the show anymore. Though I did say about this, well, it's about friggin' time. And it's very clear that that is not Nicolas Cage in that costume. Oh, I will point out, though, it's really nice to see that the Irish fucking mob is hiring the most diverse crew. I actually had a picture of the black driver here, but unfortunately, again, screwed up the process. Yeah, but it's really nice to see that, the black guy was in the passenger seat. That they have an Asian, this guy appears to be some sort of Eastern European, non-Irish. Yeah, and an obvious Chinaman. By all means, guys. You know, let the Irish fucking mob in segregated New York City in the 1930s be as diverse as possible. What the fuck is wrong with you people? Oh, I did say the web physics was kind of funny. Right before this, Ben fires his webs into a machine gun that somehow, though he's 10 feet in front of the guy and facing directly at him, somehow shoves the gun down and then yanks it to one side, and the gun goes and turns and sprays somebody else. Where am I here? Yeah, and I did say I was very glad it wasn't Cage in that suit. The absolute unbelievable nature of the web physics combined with the barely clear Cage voiceover, the ADR coming back here. Cage is obviously not in the suit, But there are things being said that are both muffled and distorted at the same time under gunfire. It's not clearly, and I mean, I was wearing headphones to watch this, and it's just not clear. It's bad. It's really, really bad. Yeah, and I did say at least this made sense. Physical sense, yeah. We get a call back, which is great. Unfortunately, and I did say in very big block letters, ow, my brain, the stupid, it burns. Yeah. Same two guys, same pose, and he says, see, Tai Chi. Wow, way to just give up your fucking identity, Ben, you fucking clown. Yeah, and on top of that, to make it worse, then he walks back to his office, or walks back into his office, which necessitates him at least having entered the building, either from the roof or from the floor, from the street, in costume. Yeah. Why did he bother to try warning Silvermane off of Ben Reilly in costume if he was going to just wear the same costume right back to his office, where it's reasonable to assume Silvermane has people fucking watching it? Jesus, who wrote this? I did say I do like the costume, though. I do. I really do like that costume. That leather, and the hat's a bit funny, but I like it. I really do like this costume. I think it's well executed. I am going to watch at least some of this in color at some point, and may do a brief review of the color version, but in black and white, this looks great. And one of the things that really stands out, maybe because it's black and white, is the texture of everything. You can tell that this is insanely smooth, that this is kind of roughish leather, that the hat is cloth, potentially, like a felted cloth. Everything has texture. The mask itself, you can't really see it here, and if I'd thought about talking about texture, I would have grabbed a closer picture, but the mask is clearly knit. There's also a weird thing with the mask. When Ben is wearing it, his voice is distorted, but electronically distorted, which shouldn't be technology that existed in the 30s, unless he's using some sort of speaking plate over his mouth, which you don't see on the mask. In fact, I'm not even sure you see the mouth moving under the mask. Like, it's not even as well done as the Deadpool mask. And that's technology you have available. Yeah, that's how I feel when my phone rings too, Ben. And I had to ask, is that the same spider? That's an interesting possibility. Because, I mean, my first exposure to the Spider-Noir character was the Spider-Verse animations. I'm left wondering now, is this... And then I read the Spider-Verse comic. Is this a totemic animal that cannot be killed? That is kind of always around him? Is this something that's being attracted to him because he's finally started to, re-engage with his powers, with his power set, with his identity as the spider? I don't know. But I'll give you my final thoughts after we have a quick look through the trivia here. I did point out he dressed up as Harold Lloyd DePose as a maintenance worker. Technically, they call him a plumber, but he's not a plumber. The mayor at one point says, "As God is my witness, you'll never go thirsty again," which is similar to what Scarlett O'Hara says in Gone with the Wind in 1936, which is after this. So it's not like the mayor had seen that movie, which was one of the most popular movies of all time, at that point. Yeah, it's definitely not a callback to As God is my witness, I'll never go hungry again. Now, I'm going to turn off my browser for just a second and check those spoilers to see what we're looking at here. No. Wow, people are fucking retarded. The spoilers aren't worth looking into, honestly. I'll close that. I'll bring the browser back up for my final thoughts here because, actually, rather than that, where is costume. There we go. We'll do this for my final thoughts. I'll zoom that in. Okay, so my final thoughts are this. This is better than the first episode, which is a good sign. The lore has been deepened, the powers have been reclaimed, the identity has been reclaimed, more or less. I think we're early in the period of adjustment when the episode ends, which is fine. There have been questions raised. Yeah. I did find it is less of a slog to get through this now, and I'm left hopeful. But we know that I tend to be an optimist about a lot of things, especially when it comes to genre stuff, because I love genre stuff, so who knows. In any case, folks, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, and you have watched this far, please be so kind as to go over to my Ko-Fi, fling me a few bucks, and if you so choose, do so on a monthly basis, in which case you will get your name in the ticker alongside ZenRab7 and Simon JJ. If you don't want me to actually talk about who you are, and I do have one supporter who does, which I understand. I mean, my political takes are a bit hot, so. Speaking of political takes, I will be on with Yiz the Eunuch tonight on Discordant Dragons over on her channel. That's YIZZTHEUNUCH on YouTube at 6 Eastern Time, which should be well after this comes out. What else? If you would like to support me without spending any money, you can obviously go to Rumble and YouTube, chat, share, comment, like, follow or subscribe depending on platform. Look, it's your money, but if you follow me, or if you subscribe to me on Rumble, it's going to cost you. And Rumble takes such a cut from every creator that as a small creator, it's not financially viable for me to have that money going to Rumble. I would far prefer you sent it through PayPal. Other than that, remember that July is White History Month. Whether they want it to be or not, we're claiming it. I'll be talking about that later on with Yiz as well. And, I hope you're doing well. I hope you continue to do well. And as always, rise and rise again until lambs become lions. Bye-bye.